Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer. Love is something we all feel, right? But man, it often feels like a complete mystery that just completely defies logic. For as long as humanity has existed, love has been the obsession of our greatest poems, our most tragic plays, our most beautiful art. It feels, well, magical, elusive, like something completely beyond the realm of cold, hard data.
But what if I told you that we can actually quantify it? That we can categorize and track this magical feeling across an entire human lifespan? Seriously, what if love isn't just some poetic abstraction, but a measurable biological and psychological process that we can literally graph and study? Well, that is exactly what researchers have been doing. And let me tell you, some of their most compelling data absolutely challenges everything we thought we knew about romance.
So today, we are going on a really fascinating scientific journey. We're going to cover the universal power of love, the evolution of romance, 3 distinct types of love, a landmark lifespan love study, and finally, what actually happens as love ages.
All right, starting off with the universal power of love. To really get this, we have to recognize that love has always been a primal, world-changing force.
It's not just some modern cultural invention or a byproduct of Hollywood rom-coms. It is deeply, deeply ingrained in the human experience. Throughout history and literature, love has driven humans to absolute extremes. Just think about Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Their intense affair literally shifted the fate of massive empires. Or take Henry VIII, whose obsession with Anne Boleyn sparked a literal religious revolution in England. Over on the scientific side of things, you've got the profound connection between Marie and Pierre Curie, fueling groundbreaking discoveries in radioactivity. And of course, in literature, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet perfectly captures how love can push us to ultimate tragedy. Love, quite literally, changes the world.
But why? Why do we feel this way? Well, that brings us to the evolution of romance, where we can look at this whole thing through the lens of biology and anthropology to figure out where these feelings actually come from.
Believe it or not, human romance began millions of years ago with a pretty simple change in posture. When early hominids became bipedal, meaning they started walking upright about 3.5 million years ago, mothers lost the ability to carry infants on their backs while using all 4 limbs to, navigate and gather food. Instead, they suddenly had to carry their babies in their arms. This made hunting and fleeing from predators incredibly difficult. So suddenly, females needed a mate to stick around to help provide food and protection. And that right there planted the evolutionary seeds for monogamy. Fast forward to 1.8 million years ago. Our brains grew larger, which meant infants had to be born earlier in their development, making them utterly helpless and requiring intense long-term care. Evolution basically selected for pair bonding to ensure these helpless offspring survived, eventually hardwiring the specific brain circuitry that we now call romantic love.
Now, the biology of new attraction actually puts the brain under immense stress. It's wild. When you fall in love, your brain undergoes an absolute neurochemical storm. The euphoria, the sleeplessness, those crazy highs and devastating lows depending on, say, if your partner texted you back, these actually mirror the clinical hypomania seen in bipolar disorder, and it goes further. Those constant, intrusive thoughts about your new lover, they mimic the serotonin dysfunction found in obsessive-compulsive disorder. So hey, you aren't crazy. Your brain is just doing exactly what evolution designed it to do to ensure you lock down a mate.
To actually study all this madness scientifically, we have to break it down into 3 distinct types of love. Researchers couldn't just use a blanket term. They had to define the categories to really see how it operates.
First up, we have passionate love. This is the one we always see in the movies, right? It's that intense, obsessive, and hot longing for another person. We're talking deep emotional highs and lows, intense physical and sexual attraction, and this cognitive idealization of the partner where they just seem perfect. It's exhilarating for sure, but man, it's also exhausting.
Second is compassionate love. You can think of this as a more stable, cool affection. It's built on deep friendship, shared activities, intertwined lives, and a really profound mutual respect and trust. It might lack those explosive fireworks of passionate love, but it provides a steady, super comforting warmth.
Third is compassionate love. Now, this is a highly altruistic, other-centered emotion. It's rooted in self-sacrifice, tenderness, and actively caring for a partner's well-being, especially when they're vulnerable or suffering. It's really all about putting the other person first.
Okay, so for decades, the conventional wisdom in psychology, spearheaded by theories like Hatfield and Wallsters back in the 1970s, said that passionate love is, well, merely a phase.
The reigning theory was that passion inevitably fades rapidly over time, eventually being fully replaced by companionate love. But does it really? To test this widely held belief, a 2014 Lakehead University study decided to put that exact hypothesis to the test. They wanted to measure these 3 specific types of love across a huge range of relationship lengths.
So let's dive into the actual numbers of this lifespan love study and see how researchers measured this. Because honestly, the data they found is absolutely fascinating.
The raw data on passionate love is super revealing. Using comprehensive self-report scales, the researchers quantified the exact levels of love, and the distribution is heavily negatively skewed. Now, in statistics, that basically means the bulk of the participants' scores are clustered at the very high end of the scale. Think about that. Despite conventional wisdom suggesting passion is fleeting, the vast majority of people in this study reported incredibly high levels of passionate love for their partners.
And it's really important to note who these people actually were. The study looked at a broad, highly diverse sample of 273 people. Their ages range from 18 all the way up to 74 years old. And remarkably, their relationship lengths spanned from just a single month to a staggering 51 years. So this wasn't just some quick survey of college students still in their honeymoon phase. No, this was a true lifespan study.
So, what's the final verdict? When you map love out across decades, what does the data actually reveal about what happens as love ages? Well, the data revealed some pretty surprising demographic twists. First off, men actually scored higher on compassionate, meaning that altruistic and self-sacrificing love than women did. Who knew? Additionally, heterosexual individuals in this sample reported slightly higher passionate love than homosexual individuals. And, predictably enough, merely living together significantly spiked levels of companionate love, which basically proves that sharing daily routines deeply forges that cool friendship-based bond.
But here is the absolute most satisfying data point, and the one that literally rewrites the textbooks. Contrary to popular belief and, decades of older psychological theory, the researchers found absolutely no significant decline in passionate love as relationships aged. Let me just say that again, because it's huge. Passionate love does not have an expiration date. You are entirely capable of feeling that same hot, intense, deeply romantic longing for a partner, whether you've been together for 1 month or 50 years. No way, right? But it's true.
Now, while passion clearly stays alive, companionate love follows a slightly different, distinct path. Companionate love definitely increases with relationship length. Makes sense. The longer you are together, the deeper that friendship grows. However, the data revealed a really fascinating twist. This growth is moderated by age, meaning that older individuals in very long relationships actually reported slightly lower companionate love than much younger individuals who happen to be in equally long relationships. So the dynamic is incredibly complex, heavily dependent on the intersection of exactly how old you are and how long you've been deeply intertwined with someone.
This all brings us to a really beautiful conclusion from researcher Ellen Berscheid, who noted that love just isn't a static, unmoving thing. She compared relationships to rivers. They flow through time and space, and they inherently change as the properties of the environment around them change. Our biology, our ages, our living situations, they all bend and shape the river, but the water, it keeps flowing.
Knowing that passion isn't strictly reserved for the young, and that the intense fire of romance doesn't inherently fade just because the calendar turns, I want to leave you with this thought to examine in your own life. If science proves that true passionate love can endure for half a century, how will you let your own love story evolve? Take that insight with you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.